so than any of the other F1 teams. It seems that the F1 mechanics for Ferrari seems to be a little bit more inter-mechanical things compared to the Williams and Mercedes. I mean, they're all over like that, the pictures taken with it.
Martin, if you currently have 7 bikes in the field, it's good to see the numbers growing here. In the Crossroads RaceWay Everyone's still having bikes at home, someone who can offer
after the finish line. Going to be one for the race coach on that one. 8.00, 166 miles an hour.
It does improve actually.
It does, but whether or not it stands, I'm not too sure.
I think Martin's probably just going to be glad to be upright up the other end, really, isn't he? After that, that was a very graphic definition of what happens when the wing gets hot with it.
Yes. Still goes to 693, 100.
Run though for Roman 6 at 691.
the quarter mile blocks. He reads a 6.44 at 163 miles an hour.
Through the finish line, 90, 130 miles an hour. These bikes can run in the 60s, so that's not quite down behind the tower as well. I still, unfortunately, don't see our friend from Finland in the lineup we've got. Oh, it's beautiful. Up two on the Frenchman's heels. Oh, there you go. Two for France this time. Yeah, Jerome Rougeau and Bertrand Maurice. Bertrand was his number one qualifier, 7:28 off the train yesterday. Normally aspirated both of these cover race for so very good afternoon. Hospital City Jerry Chow Lawyer, who are watching in from there. Golden Cup. This is over that qualifiers for Golden Cup. All that good is that other questions yeah, I think that there he goes, still around the corner. So the next two, keep fingers crossed they go nice and straight as well. The inside yesterday, that way it's really anticipated. Yeah.
Wow! A 7.73, 185 miles an hour. So it's already your number one.
To click it off about 1,000 foot, 719 and 136. That was a lot more like it all the way down. Problems with Thomas, something broke on the bike just on Roger. The wheelbase on the car, very, very different.
492 and 238 miles an hour for 5 balls at a 535 and only 178.
Rodney Mercer, coming from 13. Dog Scott, number 8. Let's see how many these are in the first couple. There's only one breakdown, that's the one that's only had one run.
As 50 cars have made a pass down the track.
Yeah, there are a few people asking the question last night as to what in a minute. We've only got 49 here. Hold on tight, great run yesterday with no numbers, fingers crossed for today. Five, four, three, two, one.
Jesus Christ!
0.76, it's looking at the motor 607 at 155 miles an hour. Oh, so close to that magical 5. To the 60 foot, it was 0.76 of a second. The 330 was 2 seconds. John Scott, top of the pile. Unfortunately, the pony's already gone. John Turner, who's coming number 28. John Turner number 35. 5.8.
5.96 to 145 miles an hour. And considering
Stockers coming next, door cars once again, big door cars, but they run 500 cubic inch, normally aspirated engines by no nitrogen in the other carburetors and wasting gasoline. One of the funniest rules
is because they are supposed to be based on road-going vehicles. Of course, you'll see later on the Dodge Dart, it's nothing like a road-going Dodge Dart, really. They have to have a factory dash replacement. I know most of the later cars can find them. They've all got factories.
and work from that's right here, that doesn't count.
So that's a great car. Actually, no, it's the car. See it on the history. He was only right. Give me all the last year, is that right? Quite bad. Travelling to Japan, the East China. We've got 7 point stoppers in the weekend. And the first time there was a few years we never had point stoppers in the moment. How cool is it to see 7 of them? Most of them after many, many years. I'm sure that would be a tough difference. Why is that? I'll do it point stoppers. These cars are very expensive. So some like there's no everything is engineered horsepower. So you take the motor all the day, only goes 200 miles an hour. It's going to be a good move, but then he crosses the centre line just before the 8th mile. Does a very good job of
How about the 8th? 3.12 at 277 miles an hour.
Yeah, that was absolutely flawless. Okay, Josie, if you wouldn't mind coming over here, we can show this on the big screen as well. Sorry folks, that's my feet and my wavy hair. Right, Josie, if you don't mind coming over here so you can see where, oh, over there, we'll start over here, so it's my fault. So, that is how wide the tyre tracks of a top fuel car are, basically between there. Now, if you follow me this way a little bit further, the car went up in smoke. And by the time we get to here, it's that wide.
which is probably a good 2 foot to around 4 inches at the very, very most, something like that. That's what happens with centrifugal force with a tyre on a top fuel drag, that when they spin the tyres like that, they spin them almost instantly as well. So we're just getting the 2 cars retrieved off the top end of the racetrack. When the sheets come out, they do stop very, very quickly, even though they're going 300 plus miles an hour. So, in the Slick Tricks lane for Boosted by Brojo Coffee, returning for the UK, please give him a big cheer. Liam Jones, everyone. And in the Kestrel Beer lane for Ottawa and Sweden. So great to have him back here. Dennis Nielsen, everyone. They are just being given the signal to fire up. Pair number 2 coming your way. Suzanne, number 1, 3.90312.
Only 244 miles an hour.
What were the numbers quickly?
85 to 60 foot for Liam, 88 for Dennis. Well, actually 311 and 275.
So that was
Liam.
looking at Suzanne until then, wasn't it?
I'm on the start line with Bayer, who is Liam's better half, definitely. Let's go. Sorry, you need to go there. Okay, well done. Big run. It's got to run away. But Dennis with a 7.05. There you go.
Over to the left and both thought better of it.
Both shook really badly as well. I don't know where Matt shook. Funny enough, yesterday, I said it was my fault that was, because I said to David, I said,
248, 247 miles an hour. That's good because to his speed.
Speed, very good.
Well, the car driving towards the wall, he tried to pedal it, but we all know what happens when you try to pedal a nitro car.
Yeah, 0.97 to 60 foot, but not working out before the 18, 456 on a night, and coasting at the 1,000 foot at 60.
In the Kestrel Lane, car owner Bob Jarrett walks out front. We've got a couple of licensing runs after that, but we've got so much stuff to come your way, so please don't go anywhere at all.
Yeah, you could miss some of the biggest highlights of the show. European record set by Terry Haddock back in April was 4.12 at 307.88 miles an hour. That in Bob Jarrett's Showtime Fuel Funny car. Steve Ashdown is no slouch though. He has been 4.18 in his car, 294 miles an hour. And fair to say that the Fuel Funny car drivers are they're friends in the pits, but they really do want to murder each other out on the racetrack. It's win-win-win, that's all they're interested in.
Well, this is a rematch of the final for the festival now.
Yeah.
When Terry reset that European record. The car itself is the only car in Europe that's been over 300 miles an hour. Last year at the finals, it was Patrick Perez who went. This year it's Terry behind it. The funny thing is it was actually Terry tuning the car when Patrick went 300 miles an hour last year, so they definitely know what they're doing. Bob Jarrett, it's great to have him back in European drag racing, a name that many will remember. If you remember cars like Striptease, Panic, Bob has had a hand in tuning all of those, and obviously in much more recent years, or actually for about 30 years, this Showtime car. They've been given the signal to fire up, so the engine that you've just seen in the Top Fuel Drag is a 500 cubic inch nitro burning Hemi. It's the same as in these short, stubby wheelbase cars. The reason they're called funny cars is because when they were first developed many years ago, they look kind of let's leave that now.
take no improvement for Terry going to 4.62. His pits on the track down there, Daryl. I didn't quite see what happened.
I think it was just when it spun the tyres